not wearing a seatbelt. I got an email this morning early from my dear friend, Sergeant Stephen Blanco of the Texas Department of Public Safety. I'm on an email list, and I get notified of every fatality that happens in his area, which is very broad. I'm going to read it to you. "7 p.m., August 20, Midland County, Interstate Highway 20, mile marker 147. The vehicle was a 2007 Kia Sorento. It was driven by one Harley Henderson, male, 29 years of age, hometown Colorado City, Texas. Preliminary information reveals that Vehicle 1, which was his because it's a single vehicle fatality, traveling eastbound on Interstate Highway 20 when the left rear tire suffered a blowout, causing Vehicle 1 to veer off the roadway and roll over. Single vehicle, blown tire. Driver was transported. I skipped the best part. The driver of Vehicle 1 was ejected from the vehicle. He was then transported to Midland Memorial Hospital and later succumbed to his injuries 4 days later. Crash remains under investigation. No additional information available at this time. Weather conditions, clear. Pavement conditions, dry. 29 years old. You think if he's wearing his seatbelt, he doesn't get ejected from the vehicle? How many of you have had a blown tire? Yeah, and you're here. We can control some things, folks. Jason's own data shows that if we want to make a dent in what we're doing here in the Permian Basin, it starts right there. Let's get that message out. Luis, if you could flip over to my presentation, please. I appreciate it. I want to talk to you a little bit today about what we at the PRSC are doing after we saw a very disturbing trend in data back in December and January. I want to talk to you about what we did as an organization, and many of you support us with your volunteerism, you support us with your contributions financially. I want you to know what we're trying to do here in these 3 counties of southeast New Mexico. Okay? This is what I'm focusing on here today. Obviously, these 25 counties are massive in their own right. But I can promise you that this is holding its own in crash data across the Permian Basin. Next slide, please. He's gone. That's all right. I got you. I'm good. We'll just do this. How about this? So I want to take you back in time. I want to take you a step back. Some of you that are on our board of directors that are here today, this is going to be familiar to you. Many of you might not have seen this. This is in February. I made this presentation at our annual board meeting, and I raised alarm with our board, and I said, I'm seeing some things in the data in New Mexico that really bother me. Okay? So I want to take you there. I want to show you what we were doing in our world. Go ahead. So December and January of 24, we had a combined 7 fatalities in the Permian Basin counties of New Mexico. Just for a reminder, they're way up in the top up there, just as a subset map. You all know where they are. All right, Chavez, Lee, Eddy, we know this. All right, so we had 7, and then December of 24 to January of 25, we had 11. And I said, holy moly, what are we doing here? Something's not right. Let's dive into this. As you can see on the bar charts here, We were somehow +3 in Chaves County. We were down 1 in Eddy, and we were +2, and we were like, what in the world is going on out there? You know, a place that we have historically seen 1, 2, I bumped to 3. A place that we had seen 3, 4, 5, bumped to 7. Something's not right. In total, it was a 57.1% increase. Go ahead. Now, meanwhile, during this exact same period of time, the rest of New Mexico, which is one of the things that we do, is we look at the state and then we look at how the 3 counties are doing versus the state. We're trying to get some sort of way to gauge what's happening here. So at the same exact period of time, we actually went down, pushing 25%, almost 24 to be precise. We were 63 in December of 23, in January of 24, and then 1 year later, the rest of the state was down to 48. So the rest of the state's down, but the Southeast is trending way up. So back at our shop, we're saying to ourselves, okay, this is bothersome. And we're seeing, again, canary in the coal mine here. We're seeing something that's just, this is not the way you want to start the year. Next slide. So we set upon an action plan at the Permian Road Safety Coalition. We called it our 1H, for those of you who want first half 2025 New Mexico Action Plan. You see it on your screen. Let's take you through it. This is something that I presented to our board. I said, you know, I think I need to unfortunately, we also had unveiled a very specific 2025 calendar. And I said, I think everything that I just presented to you on the calendar, I need to go back and scrap and redo, because I'm seeing some data here. And what I'm not showing you today in the interest of time is the Texas part was doing just fine. Thank you very much. All right. So I'm looking over here in New Mexico and I'm seeing flashing signals. So one of the things that we did is we dispatched our advocates both to Austin and to Santa Fe, and you can see that Santa Fe advocacy resulted in 2 specific deliverables. This was during the legislative session. Matter of fact, did Rep. Brown sneak in? I'm looking. Catherine Brown, not here today. She had registered, and I wanted to make sure and acknowledge her. Randy Pettigrew, he also registered today. 2 big supporters of road safety here in southeast New Mexico, and I wanted to make sure and thank them publicly for their advocacy on behalf. And they helped us tremendously at the Roundhouse in Santa Fe during the legislative session. But specifically, there are 2 big deliverables here that we set upon as the PRSC. And the first one was to meet with Jason's bosses and go through this data and try to find a way that we could not leave the room until we had some sort of plan. In other words, what's NMDOT's skin in the game here? You know, it's one thing to just look at that data and go, oh yeah, man, Mike, ooh, yeah, that's bad. But it's quite another to say, hey, here's some tools that we can bring to the table. And to their credit, they did. And one of the things that they did, and we'll dive into this a little bit more, was some very specific and targeted Southeast New Mexico marketing dollars that they had to raise awareness and to push safe driving messages over the end of Q1 and into the beginning of Q2. Okay, the marketing budget, by the way, was about $2 million for NMDOT for the entire state for the entire year. We were able to convince them, based on data and based on some more granular information that we were able to share, we were able to get them to spend $600,000 of that between Easter and Cinco de Mayo in southeast New Mexico. So we partnered that plan with the next bullet that you see here, which is a meeting with the New Mexico State Police leadership. In specific, their commercial vehicle enforcement division. Okay? And about a half a day session that we had with them at the headquarters in Santa Fe, and we were looking for alignment. And I went into this with, and you have to be very careful in the business that I'm in of road safety, because The number one way to turn somebody off is to say, well, over here in this other place, they do it this way. How come you can't do it that way? All right? So you have to be respectful of those differences, but you're trying to get to the same place. You're trying to get investment. You're trying to get alignment. You're trying to get folks to do the right thing. And again, to their credit, they absolutely did. Found out in that meeting, and anybody want to take a guess here? Commercial vehicle enforcement officers for the state of New Mexico, the entire state. You want to take a guess at how many slots are budgeted in the state budget for state police, commercial vehicle enforcement officers, entire state of New Mexico? Give me a number. 5? Okay. 12? The number of slots that's budgeted is 10. Anybody want to take a guess at how many are currently filled? It's Jason's 5 that he held up his hand. There's 5. Of those 5 that are currently filled, how many of those individuals are in southeast New Mexico? 1? You're 1 too many. It's 0. Okay? So, Rep. Brown, Rep. Pettigrew, the Senate side, this is where we start to nudge. This is where we start to say, hey, I got 10, I got 5, I got 0. From an area of the state that produces nearly 60% of the state's budget. Okay? These are, again, I'm taking you in the weeds. I'm taking you way behind the curtain here. I want you to see what we're doing. The result of that meeting was the single largest enforcement surge ever for the state of New Mexico. All 5 of the officers were deployed over a 2-month period into southeast New Mexico. And then at the same time, I was able to, once we, I felt like I needed to just get in the car and zip out of town. I felt like, hey, before I wear out my welcome and I've gotten everything that I wanted out of these 2 meetings, I'm going to get out of here. So I immediately went to our folks in Austin and I said, guess what New Mexico is now beating you in? And they said, oh, really? Yeah. Oh, well, we'll show them. And so the Texas DPS deployed 12 CMV enforcement agents in the Texas counties that border New Mexico. Okay? Single largest surge ever in that area. One of the things that we were able to do for the very first time that we were super proud of is get our municipal law enforcement, our county law enforcement, and the state law enforcement to collaborate. I'm not going to use the word partner because that has some connotations, but to collaborate with one another. All right, and it was a beautiful thing. And for those of you especially from municipal and county law enforcement that are here today, thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, and we recognize that CMVs have their duties that the local municipal can't necessarily perform, but there are certainly many things that can be performed at the local and municipal level, and you did it. And it resulted in some really great movement in the data. Moving on very quickly, we were trying to do what we could do on the PRSC side. We held the largest road safety luncheon, this one right here. We held that in Hobbs back in March. Again, we had not planned that. We shifted from another location and said we're going to put it in Lee County. We absolutely have to do that. That NMDOT social media marketing campaign began, and we latched on to that. We also started something we called our Road Safety Lunch and Learns, and we had the first 2 in southeast New Mexico, one in Jal, one in Roswell. I want to thank NMDOT's District 2 for showing up big in Jal and in Roswell as well, but particularly in Jal because of the pending road construction, the pending project. Sad to say that project has been temporarily put on hold. We can talk about that some more if you want. But know that one of the things coming out of that JAL Lunch and Learn, and again, this is where we want to engage local influencers, local decision makers like the mayor of JAL. I think we all know him pretty well, pretty outspoken guy on road safety. And he said, I want town hall meetings from my people to be able to liaise with and understand directly from DOT what the construction is going to look like, what the hours are going to look like, what they can expect in the form of detours, what industry is going to be doing, what its response is going to be. Are we going to start are we going to be detouring through Jowl and trying to cut corners and all this? And see, he said, I want that. And we were able to get everybody around a table and agree to do that. And we'll still do that. We're just not going to do it on that September, October timeframe that we had originally planned, because the work has been pushed into next year. So, we just want to give a tip of the cap to this entire action plan and to our board of directors for allowing me to take a severe deviation from what our plan was for 2025 and make it happen. Next slide, please. All right, let's take a look at where we are. 4 slides condensed into one. Here are your 3 counties and the statewide. All right, and let's take a look at what happened here. We had 5 fatalities in Lee County within 2 days of each other in early April. Otherwise we were running a goose egg across the bottom. Those 5 were a darn shame. One of those was a multi-fatality accident in which every occupant was unrestrained. Okay, a blemish on an otherwise pretty successful effort. You notice the red dotted line, the trend? See how we were trending down? But notice that 6 in January, that's what I was leading with earlier. You would have seen 15 in December if you turn back a page on that, and then 6, and then 0, 0, 5, 0, 2. You can see that we were holding steady, back more to average in Chaves County here. You can see we were back more towards the traditional average. Eddy County, we had a surge in March, again, a multi-fatality single incident that happened there. And then we started to peak downward. We kind of started to trail off, all right? But still got a lot of work to do here in Eddy County. Next slide. So let's talk a little bit about kind of where we stand. This is our first 2 quarters of 24. First half versus first half of 25. All things together, we're down 2 fatalities, and this is after that big surge that we saw in January, and we started trying to take action. So the fact that we were able to grab the runaway horse here and get it slowed down and get it back under control a little bit is something that we're certainly very proud of, but 30 remains too high. All right? And again, I go back to those leading indicators, go back to those leading causes. When you look at unrestrained occupants and distractions driving many of these are things that we can do, we can take care of. All right? Take a look at where we are very quickly. We were down in Chaves. The purple is this year, and the green is last year. It pretty much speaks for itself. Eddy County, we still have some work to do. Again, it seems like in Eddy County, when we have a fatality, it's a multi-fatality with injury, multi-fatality incident, and that's something that we absolutely have to address. Go ahead. State of New Mexico. Think back to the beginning of these slides. Remember I showed you I was like 50 some odd percent to the bad, and the state was 25% to the good. Remember that? Remember those 2 slides? This is what I'm showing you here. Had 6.3% decrease in the 3 counties, while the state was 7.7. I'm back in the ballpark. We're back in the ballpark. 207 to 191, okay, over that same period of time. Next slide. I hope that you are receiving these on your email through our newsletter. If you're not, PermianRoadSafety.org is your friend. Scroll down just from the top. Scroll down just a little bit. You'll see a place you can put your email address in. We do not sell that information. Your email only goes to our newsletter, and you will get reports like this on a monthly basis that we hope that you can just take and download as a PDF and fire this out in your organizations. It's a whole lot of data. I don't intend to go through every single block of this except to say that the green is good. Otherwise, it's red. Somebody says, well, then what's yellow if it's like the same from last? I said, that just pisses me off. I said, because I want to see it green, right? So, but the green here is something we've been working toward for quite a long time, and we're getting there. We're absolutely getting there. This is the first 7 months, so this is actually through July. This is the hottest, freshest data that we actually have. This is January to July versus January to July, 1 year separation. Just a couple of highlights. If you look on the Texas side, for those of you that operate there, the 25 counties of Texas, we were down 16.2%. And then by comparison, I want you to look down here at the bottom. Texas statewide road fatalities are the same, down 10%. The Permian finally exceeds the state average in Texas. This is a big deal. It's never happened. Yeah. Think back to some of the presentations that you might have heard me give, say 2 and 3 years ago, where it was not uncommon for us, and the big buzzword at the time is that the Permian Basin of Texas represents 1% of the Texas population, but yet is 11% of the fatalities. And now look at us. Now look at us. There's been a whole lot of work from a whole lot of folks that have helped make this happen. Okay? Now let's look at New Mexico. The 3 counties of New Mexico down over that same period of time, 8.3%. Statewide, 8.5. And again, this is through July, which is why these numbers are a little different than what I showed you on previous slides, which were through June. Okay? So we've even done a little better. So we are, for all intents and purposes, smack dab on the state average. Not worse, not better yet, but we're getting there. Okay? Again, a lot of folks to thank for this. We are absolutely turning the corner, and we need to hold the line on this. The best way to do that is to keep preaching those road safety messages inside your organizations. You know, no distractions. I always like to say, big screen, not the little screen. We're looking out that big screen. Next slide. Oh, I beg your pardon. Can you go back one? Thank you. Someone pointed out, rightfully so, that in the 3 New Mexico counties in our base data chart here, you might see NA. I want to address that. It's a great pickup, and it says fatal crashes, NA. Just know that currently, and I know this is changing with the AASHTO system coming on board, currently New Mexico does not report the number of fatal crashes by county. That's why it says NA. All right? It's just a piece of data that's not reported. Now, hopefully with this AASHTO system that Jason talked about coming on board, we're going to be able to drill down a little bit more and get more granular there and do some cross comparisons. But it was a great catch by my friends from Mewborn who picked up that and said, hey, what's that all about? So thank you for that. Okay. As I kind of close and we're itching towards lunch, and we're going to give you guys a good break today. Deirdre, I'm looking for you. A thumbs up. Is lunch here yet? Lunch is here? A big thumbs up? All right, great. So I can't hold you too long. Let me just quickly go through, as any good organization would do in the for-profit world. And I'm thinking about my good friend John Hamill, who's here today with Oxy, and our board member for a long time representing Oxy. He always likes to push us and say things like, we're measuring each of our departments not just on where we are today and where we've been, but where we want to go. And how are we growing as an organization? I wanted you to know that in the nonprofit world, we're exactly the same. You know, we're taking these for-profit principles and trying very hard to make sure that we're delivering on the dollars that you're investing in us. So we've recently done a look back. We're getting very close to our 8th birthday here at the PRSC, and so we took the opportunity to look back to the year before we were officially founded, which was 2018. Our official founding date is our first board meeting is kind of what we go by. It was January of 2019, so we try to start with data from 19. As the first year. But I wanted to see, where are we from the year before we were born? So we've done a little bit of analysis here for New Mexico. And here's where we stand. If you go back to 2018, the state of New Mexico was about below 400, and I'm just going to kind of round here in the interest of time, but we were a little below 400 fatalities, statewide, and we're at about 420. So you can see that red line, a real slow, steady increase statewide. Okay, next slide. I wanted to look at Chaves County, which we added to our official watch list in 2023, mainly because of the First Responder Life-Saving Equipment Initiative. We were all in that county helping the volunteer fire departments and law enforcement. So we picked them up, but I didn't want to leave them out, so we looked back to 18. You can see this sort of up, down that we've had throughout the years. Early on, trending a bit down, hitting a low of 7, and then trending back up to 14. You can see that, generally the line is a push, from left to right. If you kind of average out, those zigzags up and down, up and down. Next one. Eddy County. Again, you go back to 18 time frame. We were at 17. Had a COVID low of 10. Not surprising. Everybody took a dip during COVID, as you would have expected. Less traffic on the roads. And then a slow, kind of increase back up over a 2-year period, hitting 18, 18, 19 in 2024. Now you're starting to understand why we got so excited about this information that was coming into us in December and January timeframe that caused us to enact those changes that we saw. Next one, please. And then Lee County, we had a high of 28 back in 18. We had the slow downward, we had and then push during the COVID time. And then we've zoomed back up there to 31. Okay, this is, again, part of what was getting our attention. All in all, it is a push from left to right over this entire, period of time here, this 8-year period of time, if you look back 18 through 24. But still, you can see that tail end is concerning, and that's why we got and sprung into action. Go ahead. And then over the last number of years, we wanted to look holistically at the entire Permian Basin, our service area. So I went back to our original service area. So you may have heard us say we grew. We're up to 28 counties now. But when we started in 2019, we were at 22 counties tracked. Okay. Again, that First Responder Life-Saving Equipment Initiative helped us grow as an organization in our territory. So to make sure that I had an apples to apples comparison, I looked at the 22 original and looked at them today. So you can see where we are. We're down over 20%. This is what steady drumbeat safety information can do. This is why you HSC folks or your SHE folks or however you arrange those letters in your organization, this is why you get up every day. This is why you do things like 360 walkarounds that bailed out Miss Deirdre this morning at about 6:30. And she walked outside, did her 360 walk around her rental car, poof, got a flat tire. There it is, big as day. But I got to be at Oxy, and we got to shout out to the Oxy folks who sprung into action and help her this morning, make sure that we could deliver this program on time for you. But more importantly, she didn't get out on the highway and chance it, right? She said, hey, wait a minute, I got something wrong here. We got to address this. Did not want to be in that number, okay? Didn't want to get out here and say, oh, now I got to pull off the highway with, no shoulder and traffic speeding by me and people that are trying to get to work. I didn't want to be in that number. You don't want to be in that number either. That's why you do what you do every day. The trick is, how are we expressing that externally to our employees' families and the new drivers within those families and those new drivers within those families who have friends that are also new drivers, to our aging parents, where it's very easy for, as you get older, it's very easy to just be easy. But this is important. And in closing, and I think I'm down to my last slide, right, Louise? I just wanted to say that you may have heard me say this on Friday at the Southeast New Mexico College Safety Conference, which, by the way, was fantastic. And a quick shout out to everybody that had a role in that. And thanks to Matt and others that invited us to come along and provide some information on road safety. But one of the things that I said to the group, and I'll say to you here, is that, and you're welcome to share this if you think it's appropriate. When you wake up in the morning and you're getting ready for the day, unless you're juggling knives at breakfast, the single most dangerous thing that you will do today is to take your car keys, go to your vehicle, turn it on, and leave your driveway and commute to work. It is the single most dangerous thing. I'll show you any stat, I'll show you any data point that you want to see, and I will demonstrate to you that it is the single most dangerous thing that you will do. So why not do it the right way? I don't know, to some extent I'm preaching to the choir here. I know to some extent I am. Many of you are, in charge of safety for your organization. But I want you to think beyond. I want you to think beyond your employee. I want you to think into your employees' families and then their friends. And I want to think about the best practice that it shows when your 16-year-old new driver says, "Dad, why did you just put the truck in reverse? You don't even have your seatbelt on yet." This big moment for me. I'm the road safety guy. But he was late for ball practice. He was late. And I'm responsible for delivering him there. But I forgot that I was responsible for delivering him there safely, no matter the time. But to his credit, he had heard me over and over and over again say, got to click it before you turn it. Click it before you turn it, or push it, as is the case now. You got to do that. Be that role model. You don't know who's watching, and every little bit helps and counts. This is why we do what we do, y'all. This is why we're doing what we do. We have a responsibility in the energy space as we affect the quality of life, and we know we do, hopefully to the better. It's what we all strive to do. This is one area. This is the number one non-technical risk to our operations, and it continues to be so today, just like it was in 2018. And that's road safety. So thank you for letting me share with you. I thought it was an appropriate thing, dovetailing on Jason's terrific report from NMDOT, teeing up all the things that they're doing to try to help. The only one thing that we know that's missing, and Jason and I will laugh about this later, and Francisco and I cry about it all the time, and that's the fact that the District 2 NMDOT budget has been cut or been stagnant 3 years consecutive. And it's put us 10 years behind in construction. It's a separate battle that we're going to fight. And we will fight it. We're going to make it happen. But I know today the best thing that we can do to take care of road safety here in the Permian Basin of Southeast New Mexico is to take care of those human factors that we looked at. Namely, speed, distractions, and seatbelts. If we knock those out, we're going to knock a big dent in this problem. Thank you very much for your time and attention today. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Time for a question. Hang on, I'm coming to you.
Hello, I'm Carla Niemeyer, City of Carlsbad and City Councilor. I'm just curious with those statistics, does it break it down to what kind of vehicles are involved in the accidents? Just curious about that.
Great question. The current answer is no, but AASHTO is on the way. And that's what's going to help us do that, which is why I wanted Jason to tee that up today. We're going to have access to that system just like we do in CRIS, and we plan to do that analysis on a monthly basis going forward. That data is going to open up a brand new world for us so that we'll know. And in many cases, we can communicate to you, if you're not already getting that information through another source, that we can provide it to you. Things like common intersections. And quick aside here, we actually developed a program in Texas that, based on that CRIS system data, so to your question, and now think another year ahead, we actually developed a program whereby we were able to pull data out of the CRIS system, finding the top intersections in our top counties that were in the bad category, and creating a program that addressed each one of those intersections. Any idea, you want to take a guess at what we found what the common problem was? I'll pick on my friends from Texas for a second. I know y'all like that. You want to take a guess at what the common problem was? Again, intersections that lead in fatalities and crashes in counties that lead in fatalities and crashes. You want to know what the commonality was? Jurisdictional issues. It was jurisdictional issues. It was typically, and there were some exceptions, but it was typically where a municipality, a county, and the state all had roads converging at that intersection. And it was very easy, very, very easy to say, oh, well, that's X's problem, or that's Y's jurisdiction, or I think that the state's taking care of that under the whatever plan. We created a program whereby we literally dove into those intersections, and we were able and Sergeant Blanco leads that effort for us, and we were able to create a micro plan for each one of those intersections that has now borne a lot of fruit, and we hope to do the exact same thing here. That's what we hope to do. Anybody else with a question? Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am, sorry. You're right here in the red shirt.
My name's Fonda. I'm here for Emergency Services. I really appreciate the slide that you showed that had the efforts that were made over those several months,
Can you go back to
including
that?
the targeting of the motor vehicle enforcement at the end there.
Mhm.
Can you speak to any targeting or enforcement efforts that have been made for light duty vehicles? You know, for every one of those CMVs, our company probably has 10 pickups.
Yep.
And that's not to count to regular people in the community or third parties out there. So I'm just curious what's being done with that.
So we would look at it, to your question, she's asking about essentially CDL versus non-CDL drivers, essentially, if I paraphrase your question. And the short answer is yes, that is exactly where our municipal and county law enforcement came into play. Think about it, and I'm roughly generalizing here, but think about New Mexico State Police and the commercial vehicle enforcement looking at CDLs, weights and measures and roadside inspections and documentation inspections and those sorts of things. And then think about my municipal and county related law enforcement that were involved in more things like that ubiquitous white welding truck or a fleet vehicle, if you will, a non-CDL fleet vehicle. So they got similar treatment, but it was different. All right, similar treatment was different. We're looking at things over on that side of things like speed, and you're looking at condition of vehicle, and you're looking at things like just good old-fashioned rule breaking. Taking the bar ditch to pass 7 vehicles on a high, trying to swerve back. So those are the types of things that we did. But to your point, they were all treated the same. They were just handled by law enforcement a little differently.
Was that targeting intended for the non-industrial drivers as well?
Yeah, everybody. Yeah, everybody. It caught up, and anecdotally, I can tell you that there were plenty of moms and pops that were caught up in this. There were plenty of, because as you saw in some of the data, this is not just an energy space problem. And it's something, again, that we've been driving home for quite a long time. Yeah. Okay, great question. Anybody else? Time for one more, and then right at the stroke of noon, we're going to go to lunch. I can't say thank you enough. We have a great afternoon planned for you. We're going to come back in just a few minutes and get started. What I'd like to do is this. I'd like to start, Deirdre, if it's okay. Could I let this half of the room go first? And we're going to go on this side of the wall. We're going to go to the back, and then come around the right and come back to your seat. All right? After this group goes, then this group can go. And then once this group is back seated with your lunch, we're going to kickstart our program so that we can get you out of here on time. Okay? Thank you all very much. Enjoy your food. Thanks again to Oxy, and we'll be back in just a few minutes.